Hey everyone, welcome back. The weather is blessedly good out, so I'm trying to spend a little bit more time out in the shop. You probably can't tell too much, but the shop's in a state of mild disarray right now because my dust collector just arrived that I ordered. It's a Grizzly 3 horsepower dust collector. I'm very excited about that. It's going to take a little bit more prep work. I need to have an electrician come by to run an outlet that can take it. It's actually going to live outside the house, down where that wall goes, which is underneath our deck. I'm going to build a little enclosure for it, but it's going to be really exciting because then there will be dust everywhere all the time. Hooray! And I'll obviously take you through that process, but right now we're still in the very preliminary stages, so I don't have anything to show just yet, other than the pile of dust collector that's sitting over there. So what I want to work on this week is I've been wanting to get a bit more serious about using hand tools, chisels, saws, all that fun stuff. And one thing I don't really have is a good woodworker's mallet. And I think it's sort of a rite of passage for woodworkers to make their own. And so I thought that's what I would do this week. So I'm going to take a couple of pieces of some reclaimed wood, the mahogany recognized from my last couple projects, as well as some other pieces that I'm going to scrounge up. And we're going to put it together and see what happens. I'm very excited, so let's get to it. I'm going to see if I can turn this piece of wood, this piece of firewood, into the core of my mallet, because I think that would be neat. There's a bit of a split already forming at the top. If that ends up going very deep, then I probably won't be able to make it work, but I'm going to try to clean up part of it and see what I can come up with here. A bit more polishing later, we arrived at this. Now I'm still going to take quite a bit off the dimensions. Now, this is the disappointing thing, is this crack only seems to get worse the deeper I cut into this piece of wood. Now it's still perfectly strong, but obviously that's not ideal for hammering. So I've got a couple different ideas on how I can reduce the effect of that a little bit. And the first thing is I'm going to cut this to about... Sorry, I know the lighting's terrible. I'm going to cut this to about here. So it's only about half as tall as it is right now. It'll make a smaller overall mallet, but I don't need a huge one. And I wanted to start with a lot more than I needed, so I'd have room to make these decisions. And that'll cut most of the pith, that centerpiece, out, which is where it's weakest anyway. And hopefully I'll end up with a negated effect of that cracked piece. I switched out to my new resawing blade. It's specifically meant for resawing. So let's give it a test on this big chunk of wood. That cut through like it was butter. That was excellent. So you can really see how deep that crack goes now. It's another inch or so, and I don't want to take that much off the head of the mallet. So what I'm going to do actually is, obviously this is way too wide for what I need. So I'm just going to cut it right about here, get this crack out entirely. This one's pretty shallow, I'm not too worried about it, and I can seal it with some epoxy later if I need to. So I think what I'll do is this, and then I'm actually going to cut this whole thing in half to put in an insert piece, and that will also be what holds the tenon for the handle. So you should end up with still a decent sized piece. Yeah. Turns out a good bandsaw blade cuts way better than a bad bandsaw blade.
Is that right?
I know, imagine my surprise. So I cut a couple quick scales out of some of the same mahogany that I've been using for literally everything lately. And these are going to form the centerpiece of the mallet. Essentially like so. Obviously they'll be trimmed at the ends to look right. And the idea with these is I leave a little bit of a gap in the middle, and I'll mark it out and center it, which will then accept the tenon, or the internal piece of the handle. So that should work out nicely, and that way I don't have to chisel out a piece in the middle. Huzzah. I may have overdone it on the glue a bit, but no real harm in that. I think I'm just going to clamp this in the vise. My vise, by the way, is right there. Let that dry, and we'll be on to the next thing, which will be making the handle. Done! Just kidding. Now I gotta make it look good. I just drilled a quick hole at the end here. This is called a relief hole. The whole point of this slot is to accept a wedge that I'm going to put in, which helps hold it to the handle really tightly without any metal fasteners. And this just helps prevent the wood from splitting at the end if you drill a hole right there. So there you go. Now I got to cut a wedge, and then it's time to start making everything pretty once I get it all to fit. With the wedge in, there's no glue on this. Yeah, I couldn't even pull that off. That is locked in. So when that's glued, that's going to be very, very solid. So I'm going to pull everything apart, shape the head of it up a bit. I'll do the final shaping once it's together, but obviously I don't want it a complete chunky mess like this. But it's getting there. time to dry fit it one more time just to make double sure everything works. I'm going to glue it. I'll tap that in just a little bit more, but that's fine for test purposes. I am pretty pleased with that. I'm going to sand the handle down more a little bit, but I like the overall shape of it. I like the square grip in the hand. It feels better than something perfectly round. Yeah, that's a mallet. Should do the job just fine. I do need to clean up this bottom edge of the handle a little bit, so I'll do that before I glue it up. Cleaned up and time for the glue up. Cool thing about this is I don't even have to clamp it up because the wedge is already doing all that work for me. Alright, I'm going to go let that sit for a little while and come back, trim this up, do a little bit more finishing on the handle, slap a coat of finish on it, and then it is done. Feels very good in the hand already. I'm excited. Glued together it is. There's the top. I accidentally overdid it with the chisel just right here. So you can see there's a bit of a mark there, but nothing too bad. At the end of the day, this is a tool, not a work of art. Although I'd like it to be a little bit of both. A few more coats of polyurethane later, and it is about done. I am actually pleasantly surprised at how well this came out. I have never made a mallet before. It was my first time using sort of making the handle with a wedge, and it all came out really nicely. I know I didn't use that piece of firewood as much as I thought I would, but I also had no idea how much material I was going to be able to get out of it with all the cracks in it, and so I think I ended up with a really nice piece, and I'll still be able to use some of the offcuts from that log for other projects. So all good, all good. This mahogany makes for an excellent handle. I know I use it in everything, but it's because it's good to work with and I have a lot of it. So might as well, right? There's a couple imperfections, a couple bits of glue stain that I missed, and burn mark here from when I sanded it too aggressively, but this is a tool. It's going to get beat up over time, but I just wanted it to be something that was nice to look at and nice to use. I'm someone who definitely believes in function over form, but when the form can also be good, there's no reason not to. So, very glad about it. So that's going to about do it for this one. If you like the video, please go ahead and leave it a like, comment, tell me what you want me to build next. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It always means a lot to me. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one, and we'll make some more stuff. Have a good one.